So, the victim in Auckland shooting identified as 18-year-old. The victim of a shooting in Auckland overnight that escalated from a property dispute has just been identified as an 18-year-old man. Emergency services were called at about 6:50 p.m. to an address on Tuarangi Road near Western Springs Park in Grey Lynn following a report of a gun being fired. Stuff understands the victim is Maxwell D. Repia. Repia recently attended Mount Albert Grammar School. This is the tragic thing, and this is one of the reasons why I put these two articles up, is the amount of young people I know that are just throwing their lives away over stupid shit. The fact that he recently attended Mount Albert Grammar School means he's young, and he's throwing his life away either by getting involved in some shit and ended up getting killed, or maybe he was just a completely innocent guy in it all, but given it was based at a property and with a dispute, I suspect he was involved in some shady shit, if not him, someone he knows. And of course, the individual who's responsible 100% is involved with shady shit, throwing their life away once again. I've known 12-year-olds who are locked up for double homicide. 12-year-olds. 14-year-olds, similar stuff. Throwing their lives away. Absolutely tragic. Ripia's family have declined to comment at this stage. Mount Albert Grammar School principal Pat Drum said Maxwell D was enrolled at MAGS for a period of 6 months in the second half of 2021. His physical attendance at school was very limited due to the lockdown being in place, and he did not return to MAGS in 2022, so I'm unable to provide any detailed comments apart from forwarding our condolences as a school to Maxwell D's whānau and friends at their loss. So yeah, he's probably between 16 and 18 is my guess. 16 and maybe 19 is my guess. Hard to know. So the altercation between two households. Detective Inspector Glenn Baldwin said the shooting was the result of an altercation between two households and their associates that had escalated due to a property dispute. A property dispute that leads to firearms is always interesting. Always interesting. In this country, a property dispute with firearms is not exactly what I would call the norm. Certainly not in bloody Mount Albert. Not in Grey Lynn, not in Mount Albert. That's weird. This was regarding broken windows on houses and vehicles. How do they break the windows? Firearms? It has now escalated to this, Baldwin said. This appalling violence will not be tolerated. Multiple shots were fired and both groups fled the scene. Police had not yet recovered the murder weapon. He said it was too early to say how many people we're looking for, but there was likely at least a dozen involved. Okay, you don't have a property dispute with at least a dozen people involved and firearms, and it actually be related primarily to the property. Let's be real here. This is absolutely ridiculous. We don't yet understand the full numbers. It's a fairly chaotic series of events. When police arrived, people have fled the area. Baldwin said there were no evidence of gang links as yet, but criminals who were known to police were involved. But yes, no evidence of gang links, but criminals were known to the police were involved. And are you telling me that of all of those criminals that were involved, none of them have gang links? Because as long as they have gang links, then there is indeed evidence of gang links. Now, perhaps there are no gang links with those criminals. Nonetheless, as we can see, they were criminals, were they not? At least some of them. And I think if there's some of them, well, they're all more or less associated, are they not? The incident started at the front of the property, and the 18-year-old, he was 18. Of course he's 18, it says so in the title. I'm dumb. A further 2 people presented to Auckland Hospital later in the night. One of those remained in a serious condition, and the other was in a serious but stable condition. A third man was brought to the Auckland Central Police Station and speaking to police when it was realised he had also been shot. Wow, what a trooper. Didn't even know. Or maybe he did know and he was hiding it, which is wild. It was probably less severe and maybe it was a nick, who knows. Yeah, that's crazy. He was transported to the hospital. All 3 men would all undergo surgery on Friday. Well, he had surgery. It was bad enough for surgery. The victim would be removed from the scene today with a post-mortem examination scheduled for tomorrow. Police believe the first possible incident was in March. So this has been an ongoing issue for months. And there's potential criminal links, and it doesn't really, to me, seem like an actual proper property dispute. This seems like something far deeper than a property dispute. And I suspect when all is said and done, it will be very, very clear that it was far more than a property dispute. A few bloody broken windows doesn't lead to a dozen people having a shootout, or at least one side having a shootout with the other. We need to unpack that some more. There was a subsequent incident on August 16 where someone was charged with burglary. I mean, now there's someone was charged with burglary. So they're robbing each other now. This is not just some broken windows, lads. He said an incident reported at 4 p.m. that same day was thought to be connected to what occurred later that evening. Asked about if police expected the dispute to continue and retaliate following this fatal shooting, Baldwin said, "We would like to think not." Yes, well, wishful thinking never got anyone anywhere, really. He said there would be an increased police presence, but asked the public to be the police's eyes and ears and report anything suspicious to 111. On Thursday night, a group of people could be seen comforting a woman who was in tears. A man at the scene told the NZ Herald his grandson had been killed in the incident. "I loved him," he said. "Loved him to bits." Kāinga Ora Regional Director Central and East Auckland John Tabati said, "Our thoughts are with the friends and whānau who lost loved ones." Of course, Kāinga Ora is somehow linked to it all. As police have launched a homicide investigation, questions should be directed to them. It would be inappropriate for us to comment further. Baldwin said this was the fourth homicide investigation in 10 days. At this stage, none of them were believed to be linked. Well, lots of killing going on in Auckland, it seems. It's the fourth homicide in at least 10 days. It is a tragedy. The timing is incredibly unfortunate. There have been at least 11 homicides in New Zealand since August 1st. Sheesh. According to the homicide report, an ongoing staff data investigation examining why New Zealanders kill. All of the killings happened in the North Island, including 5 in Auckland. 3 of those 5 homicides have involved guns. Well, if they've involved guns, they very, very likely involve criminal elements, likely involved with gangs. A lot of likelies, but let's be real here. 3 of the 5 have involved guns in Auckland. Lovely. And I'll tell you what are the odds those guns are not street legal, or at least not in the possession of those who bought them. Across the country, there have been at least 43 homicides in 2024 compared to the 51 at the same time last year. Oh well, that's a good sign at least. I thought this government was doing a terrible job with regards to criminal justice. Of course, these things fluctuate, especially with crimes like this. But I will say, the current government has been... so far we haven't really seen any benefit in the criminal justice space as a whole. Though I don't expect that we would in only really 10 months of proper operation. I don't expect that a year from now we'll see a dramatic change. However, come 2 years from now, if we do not see a dramatic change in the trend with regards to crime rates, victimizations, then this government will be known as a failure. Now, if there are certain areas where there is definitely improvement, such as, let's say, youth justice, that would be a good step. That means they're implementing some things that are benefiting. But I think it's going to be extremely difficult to actually get a grip, get a hold of the criminal justice or the criminal element of the society and get them under control in only 3 years. And I think the only way that you can is by being far more aggressive and no holds barred and with respect to actually trying to get it under control. And I don't know if the government has the balls to do it. Sure, they're doing many things. Some people think perhaps even a little bit draconian or that impede on freedom slightly. Those are good, in my opinion. I think when it comes to... This is what I've always been told, always been reminded of throughout the system. You lose your rights and duties that are the same as everyone in society when you choose to turn your back on society, when you choose to take away the rights of someone else, you get some of your rights taken away too. So if you are willfully involving yourself in criminal activity or with a criminal underworld, criminal element like gangs, then you deserve to have some of your freedoms impinged. Now, of course, this can be abused by a government deciding that, oh yes, we're just going to say anything that we don't like is, abusing your social contract or is in breach of your social contract, and so we should be able to restrict your freedoms. That's a fair argument. But until such a time as they decide that we are going to have warrantless search powers on you simply because we want it or because we don't like something you said online, I don't care. If they start doing warrantless search powers because of that, then we have a problem. So long as they're doing that because you have a patch on your back, that is absolutely fine by me. Sure, there are very kind patch members. I know some. I'm friends with patch members. That doesn't mean I think they should be patch members. That doesn't mean I think patch members, or being a patch member, is good for them. That doesn't mean that they're not involving themselves willfully to a criminal element of society. They should be treated differently and should be treated with suspicion by authorities. I mean, that's what you should want if you want a safe community. Maybe I'm wrong.